A man walked out of a Florida casino at 6:34 in the morning with $36.5 million stuffed into trash bags. He pushed a janitor's cart, wore a name tag that wasn't his, and nobody stopped him. The FBI would spend the next 5 years trying to figure out how. Here's what they found. Nothing. No fingerprints. No DNA. No real name. Just surveillance footage of a guy in a maintenance uniform wheeling garbage toward the exit, and somehow that garbage was worth more than most people will see in 10 lifetimes. His name was Raymond Kohler. At least, that's what we're calling him. Because by the time federal agents knew who to look for, he'd already become someone else. Now, let me ask you something. If you lost everything, your job, your wife, your house, your entire identity, what would you do? Would you give up? Fade into the background? Or would you take everything you knew about the system and use it to dismantle the system? Raymond chose option 2. For 3 years before the heist, he lived in a beat-up 1997 Honda Civic. Parked it in different lots around Paradise Bay so cops wouldn't hassle him. Ate cheap. Stayed quiet. Looked like every other invisible person society stops seeing after a while. But invisibility isn't weakness. Sometimes it's preparation. Because Raymond wasn't just homeless. He was a former security analyst who'd spent 20 years designing the exact type of vault systems casinos use to protect their money. And when he walked into the Mirage Royale casino that first time, just looking for free coffee and air conditioning, he recognized the vault model immediately. He'd helped write the manual for it. The FBI still can't find him. The money never showed up in any bank. No one's ever been arrested. And somewhere right now, Raymond Kohler might be sitting in a quiet town under a new name, living off one perfect crime. So here's the real question. How does a man society threw away pull off something the FBI still calls impossible? Stick around. Because if you're the kind of person who thinks, I'll subscribe later, just know Raymond walked out before anyone noticed. And you'll miss the moment this whole thing clicks. 20 years before the heist, Raymond Kohler wasn't living in a car. He had a wife. A house in the suburbs outside Chicago. A steady job as a systems analyst for a private security firm. His specialty? Vault access protocols. Alarm systems. Biometric overrides. The kind of work where one mistake means millions of dollars walk out the door. So Raymond didn't make mistakes. He was careful. Obsessive, even. His co-workers used to joke that he could find a flaw in Fort Knox. Turns out, being that careful doesn't protect you from life coming apart. First, the marriage ended. Messy divorce. The kind where lawyers take most of what's left and spite takes the rest. Then his business partner bailed on a startup they'd been building for 2 years. Raymond had put everything into it. Savings. Credit. Hope. It collapsed. Debt piled up fast. He tried to keep working, but the pressure cracked something inside him. Anxiety became paranoia. Paranoia became isolation. And isolation became the kind of breakdown where you stop answering calls, stop showing up, stop being the person people used to know. By 2016, Raymond had nothing. No job. No family willing to help. No address that mattered. So he drifted south, where the weather doesn't kill you if you sleep in your car. Florida became home. Specifically, a rusted Honda Civic with a broken AC and a back seat full of everything he still owned. He moved the car every few nights. Stayed under the radar. Blended in with the tourists and retirees and everyone else trying to survive in the heat. People stopped seeing him. Not because he vanished, but because society teaches us not to look at people like that. Homeless guy in a parking lot? Invisible. Disheveled man sitting in a casino nursing a soda for 3 hours? Furniture. But here's the thing about being invisible. It's not the same as being gone. Raymond still had his mind. He still had 20 years of expertise in security systems, vault protocols, and exactly how people think when they're trying to protect something valuable. That knowledge didn't disappear when his life fell apart. It just waited. Society loves to categorize people. Success. Failure. Visible. Invisible. We put people in boxes and stop thinking about them. And that's dangerous. Because the guy you're ignoring at the gas station? The one you don't make eye contact with? He might know more than you ever will. Raymond knew the system. He'd built parts of it. And now that he had nothing left to lose, he started watching it with fresh eyes. Not as someone trying to protect the money. As someone trying to take it. Now, here's what I need you to understand. Ignoring a man like this is exactly what everyone else did. The casino staff. The security guards. The FBI. Eventually. They overlooked him because that's what the system trained them to do. Dismiss the people who don't fit the profile. If you scroll past this without subscribing, you're doing the same thing. You're being another blind bystander. So hit subscribe. Don't let the most dangerous story slip past you like Raymond slipped past everyone else. Raymond's first visit to the Mirage Royale Casino wasn't part of a plan. It was August. The kind of Florida heat that makes you dizzy if you stay outside too long. He needed air conditioning. Maybe a free cup of coffee if he could find one. So he walked in. The casino floor was loud. Slot machines chiming in patterns that never quite sync. Dice hitting felt. Dealers shuffling cards with that sharp, rhythmic snap. Cocktail servers weaving through crowds with trays balanced like they're born doing it. And above it all, the low hum of industrial air conditioning working overtime to keep 1,000 people comfortable. Raymond sat down in a corner booth near the bar. Ordered a soda. Nursed it for an hour. And that's when he saw it. Through a half-open service door near the back hallway, he caught a glimpse of the vault entrance. Security panel mounted on the wall. Biometric scanner next to it. And stamped right there on the metal casing, CashGuard Series 7. He knew that model. He'd helped design the access protocols for it 15 years earlier when he was still working in Chicago. Most people would have kept walking. But Raymond wasn't most people anymore. He came back the next day. And the day after that. For 8 months, Raymond became a regular at the Mirage Royale. He never gambled, couldn't afford to, but he sat at the bar, sipped cheap sodas, and watched. Security guards rotated shifts every 6 hours. Surveillance cameras had blind spots near the service corridors. Armored trucks showed up every Tuesday and Friday at 3:47 a.m. The same drivers. The same routine. He watched. He learned. He became furniture. Nobody paid attention to him. Why would they? He was just another guy killing time in the AC, another face that didn't matter. The staff stopped noticing him after the first week. By month 2, he was part of the scenery. That's when he met Leonard. Leonard worked maintenance. Took smoke breaks in the employee parking lot around the same time every afternoon. Raymond started timing his walks to cross paths with him. Casual conversations. Weather. Traffic. Sports. Nothing suspicious. Over a few weeks, Leonard started talking about work. Complained about broken equipment. Mentioned which doors had faulty locks. Explained how the service corridors connected to different parts of the building. Leonard had no idea he was handing over a blueprint. Raymond kept coming back. Kept watching. Kept filing away details most people would never notice. Camera angles. Guard patterns. Which employees were lazy. Which ones were sharp. And the whole time, he was invisible. Not because he was hiding, but because nobody thought he mattered. Being worthless made him priceless. If you're not subscribed yet, ask yourself this. How many Raymonds are around you right now? Quiet. Watching. Invisible. You think you'd notice? You think you're different from everyone else who missed him? Drop a comment if you really believe you're immune. Or hit subscribe and stay sharp. Because the people you're not paying attention to, they're paying attention to you. By May 2019, Raymond had been watching the casino for 8 months. He knew the routines. He knew the weaknesses. But he didn't have access to the one place that mattered. The vault. Then the Mirage Royale announced they'd be hosting the Southeast Regional Poker Championship over Memorial Day weekend. High rollers flying in from across the country. Big buy-ins. Massive cash reserves on site. The vault would be loaded. Potentially over $40 million. Raymond made a decision. He applied for a job. Not as security. Not as a dealer. As a janitor. The kind of position nobody pays attention to. The kind they hire fast because turnover is high and the pay is low. He walked into the hiring office with a fake name, a borrowed address from a guy he'd met at a homeless shelter, and references he'd completely made up. The social security number belonged to a dead man. His appearance helped. Shabby clothes. Tired eyes. The hiring manager looked at him and saw exactly what Raymond wanted him to see. Someone desperate. Someone who'd take any job and be grateful for it. They didn't run a deep background check. Why would they? It's just a janitor. Raymond started work on May 13th. 2 weeks before the poker championship. 14 days. That's all he had to map an entire fortress. But Raymond didn't waste time. As a janitor, he had access to service corridors, employee-only areas, back hallways where security was lighter. He mopped floors, emptied trash, and while he worked, he studied. The vault had a daily routine. Morning count at 6:15 a.m. Security briefing at 6:45 a.m. Between those two windows, there was a gap. 7 minutes where the vault area was accessible but barely monitored. 7 minutes. That's all he needed. Raymond also noticed something else. The vault's biometric scanner had a manual override, a backup code for emergencies. Standard procedure. Most facilities install them and never think about it again. But Raymond knew something the casino didn't. The contractor who installed that vault? Same firm he used to work for. And back when Raymond was writing protocols, they used a default master code series for emergency overrides. Most places never bother changing it. Raymond spent his shifts testing theories. He timed guard rotations down to the second. He identified which cameras had blind spots. He memorized which doors beeped when opened and which ones didn't. He didn't rely on luck. He relied on discipline. Every night after his shift, Raymond sat in his Civic and went over the plan. Step by step. Timing. Movements. Backup options if something went wrong. He couldn't afford mistakes. One slip, one hesitation, and it was over. Desperation doesn't make people stupid. It makes them focused. When you have nothing to lose, clarity replaces fear. By the time Memorial Day weekend arrived, Raymond had the whole thing mapped out. He knew exactly when to move. Exactly where the cameras wouldn't see him. Exactly how long he had before someone noticed. He also knew one more thing. If he pulled this off, he'd never get a second chance. It had to be perfect. And on Friday, May 24th, at 6:23 in the morning, Raymond Kohler clocked in for his shift. He pushed his cleaning cart toward the service corridor. And he made his move. Friday, May 24th, 6:23 a.m. The casino floor is nearly empty. A few gamblers still slumped at slot machines from the night before. Dealers prepping tables for the day shift. Cocktail servers restocking. Nobody's paying attention to the janitor pushing a cleaning cart toward the back hallway. Raymond swipes the security badge he'd stolen a week earlier. Lifted it from an employee's jacket while the guy was in the bathroom. The door clicks open. He's in. The service corridor is quiet. Fluorescent lights overhead. Concrete floors. 2 cameras mounted at opposite ends. Raymond knows their rotation. 60 seconds where both cameras face away at the same time. He has 60 seconds. He moves. The vault entrance is exactly where he memorized it. Security panel on the wall. Biometric scanner next to it. Raymond doesn't bother with the scanner. He goes straight to the keypad. 774293B. For a second, nothing happens. His heart is hammering. Sweat on his neck. If this doesn't work, it's over. Cameras will catch him. Guards will come. Game over. Then the panel beeps twice. Green light. The vault's time lock disengages. Raymond pulls the door open and steps inside. Stacks of cash. Bundled in plastic wrap. Organized on metal shelves. More money than most people will ever see in their lives. And Raymond has 12 minutes before the next security sweep. He doesn't count. No time for that. He grabs 4 large trash bags from his cart and starts filling them. High-denomination bills only. Hundreds. 50s. Maximize value, minimize bulk. His hands are shaking, but his movements are fast. Efficient. This isn't panic. This is controlled chaos. Grab. Stuff. Move. Grab. Stuff. Move. The bags get heavy fast. Cash has weight. Real weight. 4 bags, maybe 100 pounds combined. But Raymond doesn't stop. He keeps going until the bags are full. Then he checks the time. 11 minutes. He seals the bags. Hauls them out of the vault. Closes the door behind him. The panel locks automatically. Now comes the part that could ruin everything. Raymond loads the trash bags into his cleaning cart. But he doesn't just toss them in. He covers them with actual garbage bags. The kind full of napkins, plastic cups, food wrappers. Stuff he collected earlier from the casino floor. From the outside, it looks like trash. Just another janitor doing his job. He wheels the cart toward the exit. Passes a security guard near the employee break room. The guard glances at him. Nods. Raymond nods back. Keeps walking. Out the service door. Into the employee parking lot. Morning sun just starting to rise. Heat already building. There's a dumpster near the back fence. Raymond rolls the cart over, lifts the trash bags out one by one, and tosses them into the dumpster. Then he parks the cart, walks back inside, and clocks in to finish his shift. He mops floors for another 2 hours. Empties trash cans. Wipes down tables in the break room. Acts like nothing happened. At 8:30 a.m., he clocks out. Walks to his Civic in the parking lot. Drives around back to the dumpster. Retrieves the bags. Loads them into his trunk. And leaves. By the time the theft is discovered at 9:47 a.m., Raymond is already 150 miles north on Interstate 95. $36.5 million in the back of a car held together with duct tape and hope. If you're still not subscribed, you're basically the guard who didn't look up. Own it in the comments or fix it now. Because what happens next? The FBI loses their minds. 9:47 a.m. Routine security audit before the weekend poker championship. That's when they noticed. The vault was short. Way short. Initial count put the loss at $36.5 million. Casino management panicked. Called the FBI within minutes. Federal agents arrived by noon. They sealed the building. Pulled surveillance footage. Started interviewing staff. And that's when things got worse. The footage showed a janitor approaching the vault area around 6:30 a.m. Face partially obscured by his hat and the camera angle. He entered the corridor. Disappeared for a few minutes. Then walked out with his cleaning cart. No alarms triggered. No forced entry. No signs of a struggle. The agents focused on the janitor. Pulled employee records. Found his name, address, references. All of it looked legitimate at first. Then they dug deeper. The address didn't exist. The references were fake phone numbers that led nowhere. The social security number belonged to a man who'd been dead for 6 years. No fingerprints in the vault. No DNA. Nothing usable. The identity he'd used to get hired was a complete ghost. And by the time federal agents realized they were chasing a fabrication, the man behind it was already gone. They eventually identified him as Raymond Kohler, former security analyst. Homeless for the past 3 years. Last known location, Paradise Bay, Florida. But that information came too late. By the time the FBI knew who to look for, Raymond had already vanished. No bank deposits. No property purchases. No credit card activity. No travel records. Nothing. One agent assigned to the case later said, off the record, "He wasn't just invisible, he erased the trail before we knew there was one." The investigation turned up a maintenance worker named Leonard who'd talked to Raymond a few times. Described him as quiet, polite, forgettable. Leonard had no idea he'd been feeding information to someone planning a heist. Security footage from nearby gas stations and traffic cameras showed a beat-up Honda Civic heading north on Interstate 95 around 8:45 a.m. But there were thousands of cars on that road. No way to track which one was his. The FBI put Raymond Kohler on their most wanted list. Offered a reward. Sent his photo to every field office in the country. But leads dried up fast. No sightings held up under scrutiny. No tips led anywhere solid. The money never surfaced in any banking system. No one was arrested. No charges were ever filed. The most dangerous assumptions are the ones about people we think we've already figured out. The FBI assumed a janitor was harmless. The casino assumed their security was tight. Everyone assumed a homeless man couldn't be a threat. They were all wrong. If a man with no ID and 4 trash bags can humiliate the FBI, what chance do you have of spotting danger if you're not even subscribed to learn from it? Hit that button. Because what comes next is even stranger. Raymond Kohler disappeared. Not in the dramatic way people vanish in movies. No private jet to a tropical island. No mansion in the hills. No flashy cars or expensive watches showing up on someone's Instagram. He just stopped existing. The FBI tracked bank records across the country. Nothing. They monitored property sales under his name and known aliases. Nothing. They flagged unusual cash deposits, large purchases, anything that might indicate someone living off stolen millions. Still nothing. It was like Raymond and the $36.5 million both evaporated the moment he drove away. Federal agents developed theories. Maybe he laundered the money slowly through cash-based businesses. Maybe he moved it overseas through a network of shell accounts. Maybe he left the country entirely and settled somewhere without extradition treaties. But theories don't close cases. Over the years, tips came in. Someone claimed they saw him working at a diner in rural Montana. Another report placed him in a small town outside Mexico City. A gas station clerk in Louisiana swore he recognized the face from a wanted poster. Every lead went cold. Where is he now? Who is he now? The media started calling him the Phantom of Paradise Bay. A man who walked into a casino as nobody and walked out as a legend. Someone who outsmarted a multi-million-dollar security system, humiliated federal investigators, and vanished without leaving a single breadcrumb. To this day, Raymond Kohler remains on the FBI's most wanted list. The case is technically still open. Agents are still assigned to it. But nobody expects a break. Some believe he's living quietly in a small town under a new name. Working a normal job. Paying rent in cash. Blending in the same way he did before the heist, by being so unremarkable that nobody bothers to look twice. Others think he might be dead. That the stress or paranoia caught up with him. Or maybe someone else found out about the money and took care of him. But the most likely answer? He's out there. Watching. Waiting. Living the modest life he always wanted, funded by one perfect crime. And the FBI. They're still looking. Still searching for a ghost. The Mirage Royale Casino is still open. Still running poker tournaments. Still pulling in tourists looking for a good time in Paradise Bay. But everything changed after Raymond. They overhauled the entire security system. Hired a professional vetting firm to screen every employee, even janitors. Changed every access code in the building. Installed more cameras. Tightened protocols. Spent millions trying to make sure it could never happen again. But here's the thing about embarrassment. You can't erase it. No matter how much money they pour into security upgrades, the story remains. A homeless man living in a 20-year-old Honda Civic walked into their casino, cracked their vault, and walked out with $36.5 million. And nobody stopped him. Raymond Kohler's story isn't about celebrating crime. It's not about glorifying theft or encouraging people to break the law. It's about understanding power. The power of being underestimated. The power of patience. The power of turning your expertise into opportunity when the world thinks you're worthless. Raymond spent 8 months preparing. He didn't rush. He didn't get sloppy. He studied every detail, memorized every pattern, and waited for the exact right moment. Most people wouldn't have that discipline. Most people would have gotten impatient, made a mistake, got caught. But Raymond had nothing to lose and everything to prove, not to anyone else, but to himself. Was he a criminal? Absolutely. Was he brilliant? Undeniably. And that's what makes this story so uncomfortable. Because we're taught to see homeless people as broken, as failures, as people who've lost their edge. But Raymond never lost his edge. He just lost everything around it. And when society stopped looking at him, he used that blindness against them. Right now, somewhere in the world, Raymond Kohler might be sitting in a quiet diner, sipping gas station coffee, flipping a coin between his fingers with a kind of calmness that only comes from doing the unthinkable and getting away with it. Or maybe he's gone. Maybe the weight of what he did caught up with him and he's not around anymore. We'll never know. But here's what we do know. The people you're ignoring right now, the ones you walk past without a second glance, they're watching you the same way Raymond watched that casino. And maybe, just maybe, they know more than you think. If you're somehow still watching and haven't subscribed, maybe tell us why. Drop it in the comments like a confession. We're all waiting. Because the next story, it's even worse.